Hey everybody, Cole here with Classic Mini DIY, and on today's episode we are going to be tackling some really exciting upgrades to my Toyota Tacoma in preparation to make it more functional and more usable out on the trail and kind of upgrade my ability to work remotely. So, you won't want to miss it. Stay tuned for that. Now, like I said, on today's episode, we are going to be tackling some upgrades to make my Tacoma more functional and more off-grid than it has been in the past. This is going to allow me to get better access to trail data and also provide me more stability when I want to work remotely or out on the trail. So in order to do that, I have partnered with an excellent company called South Blvd, and they have sent over a Prinsu Pro roof rack. And I'm going to be pairing that with a Weboost cell antenna booster. Now there's lots of this stuff out on the internet showing you guys how to install Prinsu Pro roof racks, how to install Weboost setups. This is how I'm going to be tackling it on my build, and I thought you guys might find it interesting. But before we get started, I want to take a quick minute to talk to you guys about today's channel sponsor. I want to take a minute to talk to you guys about my channel sponsor today. Today's sponsor is a wonderful company called Aura. Now, I know that you guys have become aware of the cybersecurity issues that have started facing pretty much everybody in the world as technology has begun to take over most parts of our lives. And as someone who works in the technology sector, specifically building full stack applications that require a heavy level of security, it's at top of mind in just about everything I do on my computer. And today's sponsor, Aura, is a security platform that takes a whole life approach and is built to be your companion in the digital world, helping you to monitor your personal information to make sure that it isn't sold and exposed in data breaches. And when it is exposed in those situations, they help you remove that data from data brokers where possible, and help you to mitigate and address any security issues that might come up after your data is exposed. In addition to that, they have a whole platform of tools which utilize some of the newest Gen AI technologies in helping you to block spam that comes to your phone. They have a VPN platform to protect yourself when you're browsing the internet. I know that you guys know what VPNs are. Parental controls, transaction managers, and a password manager. When I say that Aura is the whole package, I truly mean that. And as you guys know, I am very picky about the channel sponsorships that I do on Classic Mini DIY. This is an independent channel, so the companies that I work with are a direct reflection of the things that are important to me, but also things that I wouldn't suggest unless I used myself. Now, I have been using Aura for a little over 6 months. But what's really special about Aura to me is that I actually have friends who work on this platform and who help build the security features that you guys use and that I myself use when I use this every day. And today I'm really excited to be able to share that I have partnered with them and I am providing a special 2-week free trial to sign up for Aura. There's no risk, no obligation, but I think that once you guys sign up for it, give it a shot, you're going to find that it is really, really cool and something that you'll probably want to keep around for a long time. What's especially cool about it is they do have family plans. So if maybe one of you in the family is the tech savvy one, but you have some additional family members who maybe are less tech savvy or more prone to getting into security situations, you can set this stuff up for them and share one account so that you can help facilitate their digital security while also monitoring and making sure that things don't happen to these people, or perhaps you have kids and you need to set up some parental controls, which are especially important in the digital age. Now, if you guys are interested in signing up for this, I have a special link which should be popping up on the screen. It probably already did a little bit ago, and I have that link down in my description below. That is a special introductory price and a free 2-week trial to give it a shot, try it out, see all of the awesome features, and see why you might want to keep this in the future. Now, I do want to say a huge thank you to Aura. They have decided to partner with Classic Mini DIY, so I am going to be sharing this on some of my upcoming videos as well. This isn't the last you're going to hear of Aura. So with that, let's jump back to the video. Now, getting back into this job, what are we doing today? Well, we've got to assemble the brand new Prinsu Pro roof rack for my Toyota Tacoma, and then we need to finish wiring in this high gain cell phone booster, which will sit on that brand new roof rack, and I'm gonna make this so that it is deployable. So when I want to use the antenna, I can hop up there, quickly pop up the antenna, I'll get that boosting functionality if there is cell signal available to me, and when I'm not using this, when I'm driving my truck around town and not out on the trail, we can flip that antenna back down so that it's not going to bump into anything, but it's also not going to make too much wind noise and get in the way. Now, to do this job, I have, of course, a high gain Weboost kit. This is something I actually bought used off of Facebook Marketplace. And there's lots of variations of this kit, but I strongly recommend checking out the used market because you can find some pretty banging deals on this Weboost setup when you find people who maybe don't need it anymore, or perhaps bought it thinking it would do something else and are disappointed to find out what it actually does do. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Weboost antenna is really about boosting an existing cell signal. So if you're out in the sticks and there's just like one bar between 1, 0, 1, 0, 1 bar, something like that, the Weboost antenna is going to be wonderful. It's going to boost that existing cell signal, and it has a little receiver that goes inside the truck, which will then transmit that to the devices local to the vehicle. Where it doesn't shine and it's not going to do anything is magically making a signal appear in places that there is simply no cell signal. So if you're somewhere where it just straight up says no service on your phone, the Weboost antenna is not going to do anything for you. If you're looking for always on internet or super reliable satellite internet, probably want to stick with something like Starlink. In my case, I don't need always on internet, but it would be very useful for the areas that I drive to have a stronger cell signal so I can get access to things like mountain biking trail maps and trail maps on my favorite app, Gaia GPS. It's a really cool app. It's not something that is sponsored the channel or anything, but Gaia GPS lets you kind of build out and map out rural areas, and it gives you really, really cool insights into forest service roads, public lands, all of those different things. There's another app that does this as well called Onyx, but something about the UI, I like Gaia GPS a little bit better, and it seems to work better for me. So in addition to the Weboost antenna, I have some rubberized stick-on trim here. I'm going to show you guys where I use that on my truck. This is going to replace some of the built-in rubber molding that my truck doesn't have anymore, but yours might still have. So my case is a little bit different than probably most people. And finally, we have two things. This is a stick-on wire concealer. This goes directly on the windshield. Very, very cool. And it's basically going to let me run this wire that I have coming from the Weboost antenna down the windshield, conceal it so nobody can see it, and it's not going to be bouncing around. And then finally, a antenna rotate out of the way device bracket mounty thingy. That's the official name. So this is going to mount something like this, and then when I want the antenna out, I'll be able to pull this arm out and rotate this up. It's going to be much easier once it's mounted. Up, and then the antenna will stick up on the top there. So I'll rotate down, up, and I think I'm going to mount this towards the back of the roof rack, assuming I have enough wire to run the antenna from the back all the way down to my little receiver inside the truck. Anyways, all of this is to complement the main attraction, which is the Prinsu Pro roof rack that I have ordered from South Blvd. So let me get that out, spread out here for you, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about this rack as well as South Blvd as a company. They have some really awesome offerings, and it's a great website to get off-road stuff like this for your truck, 4Runner, SUV, whatever it is you need, they probably have it. Now, while we get into actually assembling this Prinsu Pro roof rack, I wanted to take just a minute to talk to you guys about where I purchased this roof rack. So there are tons of truck parts stores on the internet these days, but not all of them are created equal. And the folks over at Truck Brigade, I reached out to them to kind of get some insight onto the best roof rack for my needs and for what I want on my truck. And they were absolutely wonderful. They gave me a non-biased breakdown of the different roof racks available, so I wasn't purchasing something directly from Prinsu or directly from Sherpa. I was able to talk to them, and they gave me all of the insight I needed into what was going to be the perfect fit for my truck. In my case, the Prinsu Pro roof rack fit all of the brackets, it fit all of the list items for me, but for you, that might not be the case. But Truck Brigade has an enormous selection of stuff for you guys to outfit your truck with exactly what you need, and I definitely recommend you guys go ahead and check them out. Reach out to them. They have a wonderful group of people over there, and they'll get you set up with exactly what's right for your, off-road vehicle or pickup truck, SUV. So huge shout out to Truck Brigade. Thank you so much for your time, and I am really happy with my roof rack. All right, so for this next part, this is where things get kind of exciting. We are going to be mounting the Weboost antenna on the back end of the rack here, and I'm going to go ahead and do this while the rack is off of the truck. But what I'm going to be doing is using this hilariously oversized bracket here, which I have slightly modified in order to fit. And the way that this works is it's going to kind of go through the steel and mount on the back side there. And then when I want to raise and lower the antenna, I'll just pull this arm right here and it rotates up, and then it'll rotate down when it's not in use. Pretty cool. Should work quite well. So now for the fun and slightly difficult part here, getting these nuts and bolts to line up and screw in nicely. So let's do that. All right, there we go. We have the bracket installed, and you can see I've got a sneaky suspicion that this might end up being loud and rattly, but we'll see. I think we need to tighten some bolts here. So now with that in place, we get to install our antenna. But in order to install the antenna, we got to kind of thread through our wiring and set it up on our spring-loaded stand here. So this stand with this spring, I think, comes with the factory kit from Weboost. So the way that this works is the antenna gets fed right through the antenna base. You can kind of see there. And if you want to install an extension, you can install one of those. And the antenna can go as high as you want it to go. In my case, I don't want it to be that tall because the antenna on the back of the truck sits right here, and I don't think it's gonna fit. So what we're gonna do is test it out kind of as it is here. And then if we get the rack up on the truck and it ends up fitting a little bit better than I expected, then I'll come back and probably put the antenna extension on. But the idea here is, the farther up above your truck it goes, the better it's gonna operate and the better it's gonna pick up and boost those signals. The drawback is that the higher it is off the top of your truck, the more likely it is to hit things. So it's kind of a trade-off. You got to decide what it's worth to you and see how well it performs. You might find that it's not a big deal at all, and then others might find that it's a total deal breaker. A Weboost antenna installed. Now the rest of this wiring and everything is going to get run along the roof rack here, and hopefully, looking at this, I'm a little skeptical that it's going to be long enough, but let's hope for good things. Now for those of you guys who have watched Tacoma videos already about roof racks like this and like the factory rails that you see on my truck, you probably already know that these are almost like a rite of passage, it seems like. Many people try these out before they put one of the big racks on, or maybe their truck came with one of these. This was a set that I ordered off of Amazon, and it was okay, but the seals up around the edges on the front and specifically the rear where it wraps around the back of the cab really didn't keep a good seal, and as a result can sometimes let water in. In my case it didn't do that, but something to think about. Now, This is going to come off. We're going to go ahead and kind of pop this out of the way and remove all of the bolts holding this in. And then once this comes off, we'll be able to clean up the channels, take all of the gunk out of them so I can lay my new kind of trim pieces down in there to make it look pretty nice. And then we'll prep this and carry the roof rack up here. Now the seal that I was talking about is this piece right on the back here. It's supposed to have the sticky 3M tape on it, but man, it doesn't do anything. I will say that this is an aftermarket non-OEM set from Amazon, so maybe the OEM one works a little bit better. Honestly, it's pretty cheap. Now this next step is probably something that you won't have to do, but if you have a truck that has no factory roof rack, what you'll see up here is gutters that are covered by a trim that looks a little bit like this one here. My truck has had a Cali raised roof rack on it, and then of course the factory roof rack that you guys saw. So the trim pieces here have been removed. One blew off, and so there's nothing here right now. These OEM roof gutter channels are really expensive, like $150 per side. Most places seem to stock them at like 200 bucks. I think that's silliness. So I picked this stuff up off of Amazon, and the way that this works, if we just grab a little bit of this roll here, we are going to simply stick this down in the place of the original gasket material. We're going to cover this up, make it look really nice. What we're going to want to do when we do this is make sure we leave cutouts, a space for the actual brackets for the Prinsu rack to sit down in place. So we'll have a piece that runs up to there, and then from here back. You're not really going to see this once the Prinsu rack's up there, but I just want it to look really nice. I want it to look finished. The other thing that you're going to need to do after we get this gutter stuff in is add sealant to these holes. Now, your Prinsu rack kit is going to come with this black silicone. This works really well. You're just going to goop some of this on here. It's going to get the spacer with the washer that's rubber on the bottom. That'll go on here. And then this will go through your bracket into that spacer. It's all pretty straightforward, but it's definitely a two-person job. I don't see any way that you could do this by yourself. Now what I'm spraying here is isopropyl alcohol. It does a really good job of getting like residues out of here and just clean this up so it's ready for our new kit. Okay, so with that out of the way, all that's left is to add a little bit of this gasket sealer here, this RTV, then lift the rack up and set it in place. Now we can go to installing the remainder of the Weboost setup, which is concealing this wire down the front side of the windshield here. I have a special thing for that, and then we're going to run it in through the bulkhead and under my seat. I have the Weboost controller down there, and that's how that whole unit's going to operate. So let's get that cover. All right, so my camera died when I did this before, but you can see here I've run this channel up the side of the windshield. The Weboost wire is fully concealed, runs up underneath the roof rack and up to the antenna, which I'll talk about here in just a minute. But the nice thing about this channel is you can actually add as many wires as you want to this, or at least as many as it'll fit inside there. And I'm probably going to do that for some of the additional lights that I'm going to install on the top of this roof rack. Now, one thing I absolutely love is scope creep and, of course, changing requirements. So what you can see here is that the antenna actually is up front, and that is because the wire was unfortunately not long enough. But that's okay. We went ahead and mounted the antenna on the side here using a small piece of angle aluminum, our new folding bracket, and then we have our antenna. So now when I want to use it, I can pop it up. Got a nice clear 360 view from the side of the antenna, and then when I don't want it, I can lean it down. Now we're going to give it a shot and see how well it performs with the short antenna. And if we indeed need a long antenna, or maybe I don't get enough performance out of it, I can always extend this because we got lots of room here. The only thing is I think the longer this is, the more likely it is to kind of bounce on the roof. So we'll probably want to put some sort of cushion or something for it to sit on the roof when it's not in use. But I'm gonna stick with the short antenna for right now. Now, the only other thing I want to do on this project today is install a few supplementary lights. Let me show you where I'm going to put those. All right, so the last thing that we're going to tackle today are some auxiliary lights on the rear of this roof rack. Now, you guys can see here on the back, pretty straightforward. We've got some extruded aluminum, and Prinsu does give you a few extra inserts for this, but if you want to put 4 lights on the back like I am, you'll need some additional hardware, which I do happen to have. I keep this around when I work on the Mini, but these lights, I'm going to probably set up something like this, rotate them so that they point down and back, maybe a little bit farther back like that. And the idea is that these are going to assist with, lighting up the rear of the space when we're camping, but also it's going to help backing up the trailer, and really just in general, having some additional light in the back is always useful, no matter what the occasion. So the cool thing about these lights, or rather the way I have my switch panel set up, is I have a 8-slot Switch Pro. And the way that that works is you have kind of constant power from the ignition on that, and then it's just all the switches are controlled over CAN bus, and you have the nice switch panel inside, and then you only have to wire the things into your engine bay, not all the way into a relay or to a switch or anything special like that. So I'm going to show you guys that when I wire these, but first things first, I think we'll put the brackets on these and then kind of get them set up where I want them to go. So we're going to do something like that. Now that's just kind of loosely in place, and I do need to get my other light bracket so that we can run both the brackets and both the lights. All right, so we've got 2 lights pointing kind of roughly back and down. Now we will be able to adjust these if these don't end up fitting the exact right position I like, but both of these are floodlights, so they have a pattern that is very dispersed. It's not a very focused beam, which is what I want for this kind of thing. This is going to provide me really, really bright light behind the truck. I'm going to mimic this exact angle and distance from the edge of the roof rack on the other side, and then I'll show you guys the finished product. All right, so that's gonna wrap up this episode of Classic Mini DIY. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a little off the beaten path in terms of my normal content, which is obviously on the Mini, but I thought the Weboost controller and the lights and the rack and everything was pretty cool, so wanted to share it with you guys. If you have any questions about what I worked on this episode or anything about my channel sponsor, please feel free to reach out to me in the comment section below. But aside from that, that's gonna wrap this up. So until I see you on the next one, you guys know the drill. Enjoy those minis and motor on. See you guys.